We become what we plan for. In this video, I'm going to show you how I organize my year using a calendar so that I don't let the year pass me by, and why you should do the same. Hi, this is Dr. Q, and my passion is to help you get out of your own way. I have learned the need to create something such as this calendar the hard way. What I appreciate most about using a calendar is that it gives me clarity as to what my year looks like, preventing me from becoming delusional with how much time I actually have. First, I'll quickly go through the basics of the calendar. Use a calendar that is easy to use and understand. There are many different types of calendars available, so find one that works for you. I prefer paper calendars, but if you prefer digital, that obviously has its benefits too. Make sure the calendar is large enough that you can easily see the dates and tasks. You don't want to have to squint or strain your eyes to read your calendar. Use different colors or symbols to code different types of tasks. This will help you visually see what you need to do and when. Set aside time each week to review your calendar and make adjustments as needed. Things come up, so it's important to be flexible and update your calendar as needed. However, be careful to evaluate if the change is necessary, and make a plan for how you will come back to ensure you don't sacrifice your goals. Now with that out of the way, let's get to it. This video is not going to demonstrate every single thing that I plan to do for the year, as I'm going to continually come back and add in more things as time progresses. However, what I am doing on the first look of this calendar is to create a visual representation of the commitments that I already know I'm going to participate in. For example, my work, and as you will see, I will add some additional tasks I have already thought about. However, this is not the extensive list. Later on in this video, I will create my personal goals for the year. Creating these goals will help me come back to my calendar and specify not only when, but how I'm going to incorporate the necessary steps in order to reach those goals. This is very important because what I realized for myself and for many of us is that we often think we have a lot more time than we actually do. I want to ensure to the best of my ability that I become the person I want to be at the end of the 2023-2024 academic year. You might be wondering why I'm so serious about this. Again, it came from very painful times in my life when I wasn't achieving anything. One of those times, I will never forget, is when I told my friends and loved ones that I wanted to read more. I wanted to become well-read. I even got some books at that time, and I started reading from time to time. Later, one of those people I had told brought it up. We were joking around, and I made a joke about how incorporating reading was difficult, and I said, "Who cares, because reading never helped anyone," an obvious joke. They responded to me saying, "Didn't you say you wanted to become well-read?" That's when I realized, it had been 3 years since I said that I wanted to be well-read. 3 years, and during that time I probably read 2 to 3 books. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, I don't think I finished any one of those books. There were many other moments in my life prior to this, however this specific time reflected to me how I continue to be a person who doesn't accomplish what he wants. I've always had goals, however for some reason it took me a while to get to the fact that I need to actually plan out and follow a systematic method to achieve those goals. Even more, it took me some time to actually learn the best methods for myself, and put them into practice. The purpose of my channel is to help get you there faster than it took me. Anyway, back to clarity. As I mentioned, I will incorporate the step-by-step methods to achieve my goals for the year, once I know what my available time looks like. For example, I have to take a medical licensing board exam at a certain point. I have to be preparing for this exam throughout. I prepare in a number of ways. One way is a multiple-choice question test bank that I have calculated, and you'll see me do this later, is about 2,800 questions. You can see how I wrote 15 multiple-choice questions. This comes from calculating that if I wanted to complete these questions in 365 days, it comes down to 7.7 questions per day. I have rounded up to 15 questions Monday through Friday, meaning not only will my weekends be free, but I will also finish the questions well before the year is over. 15 questions doesn't sound like a lot, but because these are detailed advanced medical questions, for each, I'm going to want to search it up, and get more details about the teaching point. 15 questions will take a bit of time, but for me, it still works, and is worth having my weekends for other goals. As you'll see, I have made that even more specific by breaking down the questions into 3 sessions of 5 a day. Guess what? I'm not stopping there, because that just sounds like randomness, and I know how I've been when I left anything up to randomness in the past. I will add specific triggers. This is a concept I have heard many times before, and I previously utilized it from time to time. I was recently reintroduced to this concept when reading James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and I'm definitely using it. I decided to do 5 questions right after brushing my teeth in the morning. So the trigger will be brushing my teeth, at which point I will realize I have to do the 5 questions. Completion of those 5 questions becomes yet another trigger, at which point, I will read 15 pages of my textbook. As you'll see, within my goals, I have calculated that I want to read 15 pages a day, Monday through Friday, from one of my textbooks, just like the multiple choice questions. Since the purpose of this video is preparing our calendars, and understanding why we're doing it, I'm not going to get into this too much. However, I just want to briefly explain why I chose to break down my questions into 3 sessions. For me, it makes it even more realistic because if I'm trying to do 15 questions in one sitting, and an emergency happens at work, or something unexpected comes up, I don't want to hit the end of my day, when I'm exhausted, only to realize I never got back to those questions. Whereas, if I was unable to complete 5 questions, I will have 2 more opportunities to be reminded, giving me room to fit them in. Or, at least, by the end of the day it might just be 2 to 3 questions left, and usually I can manage that. Another thing you saw me write earlier, was my continued interest to becoming a reader. Now, obviously I'm going through a lot of challenges, including being a physician, which takes a huge portion of my day, as well as creating these videos, which are important to me, because I realized that, if I can deliver this message to enough people, and someone benefits, I will be fulfilling a bigger internal passion. However, I don't want this to become an excuse for my other goals, such as reading more. This calendar actually allows me to have such clarity, that I have added the trigger of crawling into bed, to induce the action of grabbing my book and reading till I fall asleep. I have even calculated this, and if I read just 5 pages, which usually is not very difficult, I will have read 1,825 pages at the end of the year. Taking an average of, let's say 250 pages per book, this will allow me to read 7.5 books. This is just assuming I only read at these times for the entire year, and only 5 pages. Obviously during breaks and weekends, I can read more. However, I'm happy with accomplishing everything that I've set out to accomplish and being able to read at least 7.5 books a year during the busiest time of my life. Anyway, this calendar is nowhere near complete yet. During the end of this video, I was running late to work, so there was more I wanted to put in there, however, I had to get going. I will put more time weekly, to make sure I incorporate everything and constantly update it. I will also be able to plan out times that I want to take off, and when I do so, I will feel a sense of peace, knowing that everything is accounted for, reducing guilt. I hope this video was helpful for you. Please let me know what I did well, what I can do better, and consider subscribing to support me. I promise to work to help you get out of your own way to the best of my ability with every single video. Thank you for your time.